everyone here to take out your phones. Seriously. I want you to open your screen time by scrolling all the way to the left on your home screen. And if you can see it, on the count of 3, I want you to hold up your daily average screen time on your fingers. Is everyone ready? Go all the way to the left.
What's my average?
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3.
Per hours?
Yeah. Okay, don't be shy, because the average person in the US spends about 5 hours a day on their phone. That means that by the time someone turns 18, they will have spent over 30,000 hours on their phones. That's the equivalent of almost 4 full years of a full-time job. Okay, now you can put your phones away. A few months ago, I opened my phone, and I saw 2 completely different versions of reality. One said that the country was falling apart, and the other said that everything was completely fine. And the weirdest part is that both sides believed the other was brainwashed. This wasn't the first time I'd experienced this. I grew up in 2 very ideologically different places, a rural Wyoming town of about 400 people, and Colorado ski town. And growing up in these places gave me the unique opportunity to be surrounded by people from all different parts of the political spectrum. And what I've noticed from this experience is that people have begun to show a strong hatred for those with opposing views. But why? Let's zoom out. This chart shows an 18-year-old's remaining time in months. Out of all of that time, 64 months will be spent on social media. That's not 64 days, not even 64 weeks. That's over 5 years of your life scrolling. That's more time than many people spend earning a college degree. So the real question is, what is that time doing to us? I'm Kenna Howe. I spend an average of 2 hours a day doom scrolling. I even have a permanent dent in my pinky from my phone. And during that time, I see everything: memes, ads, random videos, and politics. One day, a few months ago, during my doom scrolling, I saw a post from a friend, a political post, and I unfollowed them because I thought, how could anyone possibly think that? And then I found myself thinking something even worse. Maybe they're actually just wrong as a person, morally flawed. And that's when I realized I wasn't just observing the vision, I was actively participating in it. So I started asking the bigger question, not just about my friend, not just about politics, but about how the social media environment actually pushes people towards extremist abuse ideologies in the US. We often think of social media as just apps, places to scroll, post, and like. It's more than that. It's a system that shapes what we see, how we see the world, and even how we see each other. And sometimes what we're seeing, or not seeing, can be dangerous. That's where the idea of extremism comes in. Extremism isn't just strong opinions. It's when beliefs become so strong that we stop questioning them, even when faced with evidence. It thrives on us versus them thinking and a black and white lens. And social media can create the perfect environment for it to grow. I want you to think about a time that you ignored a post that made you uncomfortable, or unfollowed someone because their opinions challenged yours. Those small choices might seem harmless, but they're exactly the steps that help extremism take root online. So now we know what extremism looks like, us versus them mindsets, rigid beliefs, and a refusal to question our own beliefs. But how does scrolling on your phone, liking a video, or sharing a post actually turn into extremism? That's where the mechanisms of social media play a role. Because here's the thing. Social media doesn't just passively show you content like some other forms of media. It nudges you, guides you, and over time, it can pull any of us towards the extremes. So if extremism isn't just about individual people, then what's actually pushing it? The answer isn't just politics. It's the design of the platforms themselves. There are 4 main mechanisms that shape what we see online: algorithms, filter bubbles, echo chambers, and selective exposure. Let's start with the invisible force behind almost everything we see online: algorithms. Algorithms work like personal chefs, and instead of cooking food, they serve you ideas. They don't care if it's healthy or balanced, they just want you to come back for more. They're designed to maximize engagement, not truth, which nudges people towards more extreme content. Researchers at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology found that false information spreads about 6 times faster than true information. On platforms like YouTube and TikTok, users who watch slightly political content are often recommended more intense or emotionally charged content over time. The posts that make us the most shocked, the most angry, or the most emotional are the ones that get pushed the furthest, not because they're true, but because they keep us watching. And by doing this, they amplify the intensity of emotionally charged content. But algorithms don't just recommend content. Over time, they reshape our entire feed. Instead of showing a wide range of perspectives, they slowly narrow our view of the world. This is a phenomenon that researchers call a filter bubble. Filter bubbles create personalized information feeds that allow users to see primarily content that aligns with their personal beliefs. A major study during the US presidential election found that 20% of Facebook users saw at least 75% of their content from sources that matched their beliefs. Imagine thinking you're seeing a whole conversation when you're actually just seeing one side of it. Once those bubbles start to form, something else starts to happen. People inside them start reinforcing each other's beliefs, creating something called echo chambers. Do you remember on the first day of school, walking into the cafeteria and choosing a table to sit at? You probably chose a table full of people similar to you. It's thrilling to be surrounded by people who share your beliefs and ideas. But after a while, you begin to think that your ideas are the absolute truths because no one questions them. This is a physical example of echo chambers, which can also be seen online. Echo chambers socially reinforce extremist ideas, making it difficult to encounter meaningful disagreement or ideas that challenge your own. Studies actually show that people in echo chambers are less likely to fact-check information. One Pew Research study found that about 55% of Americans get their news from social media, and many report seeing viewpoints primarily that match their own. What's interesting is it's not that everyone becomes more extreme. It's that the most extreme voices get louder and the most moderate voices get quieter. So what you see online doesn't actually reflect reality. It distorts it. But here's the important thing. This system doesn't work alone. We also choose content for ourselves. This is called selective exposure. Our tendency is to seek out information that confirms what we already believe. Unlike traditional media, social media thrives on active user engagement. While these mechanisms do play an important role in social media, users also actively choose their information that confirms their beliefs, reinforcing extremism while also avoiding discomfort. We like to think we're open-minded, but research shows that we're more likely to click on things that we agree with and ignore things that challenge us. In fact, some studies show that users will actively avoid content that causes discomfort, and even when people are shown opposing views, they often double down instead of changing their minds. When algorithms, filter bubbles, echo chambers, and selective exposure all work together, something bigger starts to happen. The entire media landscape actually begins to split apart. This is something called extremism. This is called fragmentation. When people are exposed to such a wide variety of diverse content and information, audiences and sources become fragmented, which essentially means that instead of most people getting their information from a few major shared outlets, audiences split into groups that follow different pages based on their beliefs and ideas. Fragmentation causes extremism by isolating like-minded people into communities where their beliefs are constantly being reinforced, gradually pushing those beliefs towards more extreme positions. This can be seen in the Facebook study mentioned earlier, finding that 20% of users saw at least 75% of their content from like-minded sources, and that matched their political views. And according to Oxford Academic, as well as many other sources and studies, this fragmentation of audiences into echo chambers is a key driver of extremism. Over time, this reinforcement turns political beliefs into strong social identities, making disagreement feel threatening and pushing people towards more extreme positions. The implications of this fragmented media landscape extend beyond online discourse. When people increasingly rely on social media to understand those with opposing views, stereotypes become exaggerated, and middle ground becomes more difficult to find. Now, up until this point, everything that we've talked about might seem abstract: algorithms, echo chambers, filter bubbles, extremism. But these online dynamics don't stay online forever. Over time, they can migrate offline and spill out into the real world. On January 6, 2021, a crowd gathered outside the US Capitol. What started as a protest turned into something much more serious. People forced their way inside the Capitol building, and the certification of the election was stopped. But here's what matters most. These people weren't just angry, they were convinced they were right. This is what extremism looks like. Not just strong beliefs, but beliefs so strong that they override facts, trust, and even democracy. And once you understand how this system works, another pattern becomes clear. It doesn't just shape what people consume, it shapes what people create. Politicians, influencers, and campaigns all learn the same thing. The more emotional, dramatic, or attention-grabbing the content is, the faster and further it spreads. Studies of online posts show that content that triggers an emotional reaction or anger and outrage are significantly more likely to be shared than neutral posts. We've even seen political figures use highly stylized or AI-generated content to capture attention online, and it works. Whether you agree with the content or not, you'll click share to a friend and say, oh my gosh, look at this crazy post. This content is created not because it's the most informative or true, but because it performs the best in the algorithms. And at this point, it would be easy to blame politicians, influencers, and platforms themselves, the people in power. But there's one more system involved. There's one more group involved in this system. It's us. Believe it or not, we also feed believe it or not, we also hold some power. We feed into the system by engaging with content that causes us to see more of it, making our opposing views slowly disappear, and our beliefs start to feel like truths. We start to feel threatened by the other side, and we push each other away. Extremism doesn't happen overnight. It happens one scroll at a time. I've grown up in a political climate that has become increasingly shaped by technology. I, and many others I know, first hear their news from a social media platform. I find that I avoid seeking out information from credible sources in order to dodge the emotional response, but I actually end up being exposed to an even more emotionally charged version on my social media feed. Of course, and I rush to the comments to see how others are feeling, and inevitably, I'm overwhelmed with comments that are speaking exactly my mind. And this isn't just a personal problem. It's not just about my habits or your habits. It's about the systems that we interact with every single day. Systems designed to capture our time, our attention, and shape our beliefs, and keep us coming back, which means that the responsibility doesn't just fall on us as individuals. It falls on all of us, on the platforms we use, on the leaders who shape them, and on society as a whole. As individuals, this means slowing down and questioning what we see, and actively seeking out perspectives that challenge us, not just the ones that comfort us. As a country, it means teaching media literacy not only to children, but to those of us who didn't grow up alongside technology. And at a larger scale, it means expecting more transparency from the platforms we rely on and more accountability from the people deciding what information gets amplified and what gets left out. And that realization is what changes the conversation. Because it's not just a technological problem, it's a human one. Because if we don't take responsibility for the systems shaping our realities, those systems will continue to shape us. So I want to ask you all this. Do you feel lonely?
No.
Our lives are buzzing with virtual connections that have become so ingrained into our realities that we've forgotten how to invite our neighbors over for dinner, how to sit down and write letters, and how to have a family dinner without picking up the phone. Most importantly, how to listen to each other. The one thing that we all have in common is that we're human. We want what's best for our friends, our families, our children, ourselves. And if we can gain the courage to have the uncomfortable conversations, not just from behind the safety of a screen, we can become more united than ever before. So, because at the end of the day, if we're only having conversations with people who share our exact beliefs, it would be foolish to say that it's anything but talking to ourselves. Thank you.